Hi, Andy Foster here for Wellington Live, and I'm interviewing John Dow, who is the co-founder and director of the Wellington Gold Awards. John, welcome, and 25 years you've been running the Gold Awards since 1999. That's a pretty impressive effort. How'd you put them together? Why did you put them together? And what have you loved about it?
Well, it all started in 1998 when we had an economic forum out of the Avalon, which Mayor John Terrace from the Hut organised, and we helped run that. And then what came out of that was quite interesting in that the business community felt underappreciated and somewhat overshadowed, I suppose, by the fact that we're a government town. So one of the outcomes of that was to come up with a way of celebrating and acknowledging and recognising business people, their organisations and what they're doing, and that's what led to the creation of the Gold Awards.
Take some of those, businesses which have won awards over time and then have grown to become real household names. Some of the Supreme winners and some of those that have actually really got a boost from being a Gold Award winner.
Well, there's a variety there, isn't there? I mean, when we started out, the film industry was really just starting to get going. The IT scene was pretty much in a very primitive state. And of course, businesses like Xero, who won the Supreme Award, didn't exist back then. So, we've mirrored all of those changes and things that have gone on. So some of those businesses like Xero have done extremely well, obviously, and being a gold winner was, quite an appropriate thing. And then there's others. I mean, one of the interesting stories I like to tell is about Icebreaker, because they came in and won our emerging gold category, which was for having 5 people.
New businesses, yeah.
Yeah, they only had 5 people working in a house, and they were just getting going. Basically, they won emerging gold, and were just starting to happen. And they were selling into nearly 2,000 retail outlets around the world. And they were an interesting business in the sense that they really kicked on the whole merino wool situation, which was really dying.
So there's some big flow-ons from that too, from a lot of these businesses.
And also, they were one of the first ones too that got into manufacturing offshore. So here they were in Wellington in a bedroom, sort of come up with designs which were really, really good. It was a pretty complex and difficult thing, but there's a story there. They went from 5 years from emerging to winning the overall, and I think just only a few years ago they sold for about $400 million, I believe. So Jeremy Moon and his team and investors probably made a lot of money out of it, and good on them.
So tell us about the benefit that being a Gold Award winner has been for, some stories, benefit that being a Gold Award winner has had for businesses.
Well, I suppose, it's different for every business, of course, depending on what they're doing.
Some of the good stories.
We've heard, we get a lot of feedback, and it affects them and helps them in terms of retention of those staff, but also getting new staff, because when it's a difficult market for a skill shortage, having that edge can be quite a big thing. We had a business ring us up there, a small manufacturer, and they said, look, because of the Gold Awards, we've been approached by Alibaba, flown up to China, and we've ended up with this great big order, and our big problem now is how the hell we're going to actually deal with it. We had another one actually, which was a little app, and they were an emerging gold little app that they created, and one of the big businesses there, I think it was a bank, came along and said, look, we really like this, selling it for $2 million, about 6 months later. So there's lots of those sorts of stories actually where people have had, brand recognition and value, staff morale, but also direct business, really genuine extra business that's come out of it, and that's quite common.
John, tell us a little bit about the challenges of putting on an event like this. I mean, you've done it 25 times now.
This is our first time at the embassy. Traditionally, we've been going to the TSB Bank Arena and getting 850, 900 people in a dinner setting. We love the embassy. We've done the Wellies here 3 times, and it's a wonderful, iconic building. It creates a great atmosphere. It's very Wellington. It's nearly 100 years old. It's just on 100 years old. So it is a challenging project, I'll be quite honest about that. Every year we've got to get the sponsorship together because that's what pays for a lot of it. What we give the finalists is actually all at no cost to them, apart from tickets to come to the night, which basically covers the food and beverages. So, the Hut and the Porirua, all of the cities have been incredibly supportive. I mean, they've been sponsors pretty much from the beginning. They actively get involved. They've got some great businesses in these different parts of the region, really, really great businesses, and some of them have won the Supreme Award. I mean, last year, for example, Whitaker's from Porirua was the Supreme winner,
Just tell us a little bit about the judging process. I mean, I know I've done these judging processes before, and sometimes it's quite hard to work out who the winners are in any category or Supreme winners.
We have about 30 judges. They all vote separately, so there's no lobbying or arguing and fighting and carrying on, which is actually a really good, clean way to do it, and we found that works. They score it, I think it's 1 to 5, right, so they give their score, and then that all gets tallied up, and then we select the finalists. And then in the second round, what we've created is a situation where each finalist is then given the opportunity to produce a 6-page document supporting their entry. And they did a remarkable job. I mean, some of these documents, they put so much effort into it, the quality of information, the graphics, the whole way it approached to it.
You also produce something which is very, very creative on the night. It goes and does that work. There's a lot of entertainment in that, and you have a good chuckle about these businesses and about the stories around them.
Traditionally, we've had a different theme each year, so we build the night around a theme. So we've had Pacific Gold and China Gold, and we've had movies, Wellywood, and all sorts of things. And
what's the thing for this one?
Well, this one we decided to just go with being 25 years. We thought it's our birthday. We're coming into the embassy. We've got the big screen.
So it's a silver anniversary for a gold award.
Yeah, gold turned silver. So we're playing around with So essentially, the video stories, as you know, we create them, which Phil O'Brien, as you know, is a fantastic sort of master
very
of
creative,
video and takes off the edge of who wins and who loses, sort of thing. As far as we're concerned, everyone's winning, and Wellington's certainly winning on the night. So
you said you've got about 600 odd people that you are expecting to be here. Ask you about, John, that you don't just do the Gold Awards, you do a whole bunch of other things. You've made a huge contribution to our city. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what some of the other things that you've done, particularly in the events area?
Well, that's a good point. Gail, my business partner, and we started nearly 40 years ago, actually. So, the Gold is 25, the business is 40 years. So I did start very young. And we had a magazine called Agenda Magazine for 5 years, and became a marketing agency for the Festival of the Arts, and I was the first ever marketing director. We helped Arthur Clapp get the World Triathlon Championship to come to Wellington, which he did a fantastic job on. Involved in the World Dragon Boat Festival in '98, the Parade '98 Vietnam Remembered project in '98, which was a huge undertaking. We brought Kim Fook, the Napalm Girl, here, which was incredible. I did a number of Maori art projects. Took an exhibition to Vancouver, and we did a great big promotion in San Francisco, including taking the Waka over there, and the Maori Queen came with us, and been the president, and still am actually, of Wellington United, the oldest club in Wellington. I've been the president since 1991.
And still playing Masters football, I know that.
I am still playing Masters football and hope to do for another few years yet, so that's my main love of football. Involved in having the England team come here. The England team came and played the All Whites in Mount Smart in Auckland, and then at the Athletic Park in 1991. And that was actually the centenary of the NZFA. And we also ran a dinner at the Beehive, actually, where all the heads of the different confederations came, including Sepp Blatter, from memory. And Pele was meant to turn up, actually, and was all booked in and then cancelled a week before, unfortunately.
Bit of a shame.
So, the A-League, So basically Ian Wells, who was actually on the New Zealand Football Board at that time, he and I sort of pretty much got together and said, well, let's see if we can pull it off for Wellington. So I must say it was an incredibly hard assignment. It took us 3 months, and it was very political, quite nasty at times, I must say. Had the licence lined up. There was some issues that came out at the last minute between Australian football and New Zealand football over various things, which will take a bit of time to explain. But anyway, they then got cold feet at the last minute, and that's when Terry got involved.
Terry Serapisis,
because he suddenly burst on the scene and said, "Can I help?" And so we said, "Yeah, that sounds great." So the funny thing was, they wanted 1.25 million or something cash, and he said, "What do I need to do?" I said, "Well, give us, if you've got that money, And so anyway, he turned up with this great big cheque with 1.25 million on it. And I said, okay, well, let's photograph that. And in those days it was a fax across to Australia to say, here it is. The funny thing was, he went back downstairs and banked it back into his own bank account. So he never actually passed the money over, but the money was actually there in that form. So anyway, they came over a few days later, and we had a big press conference, you might recall.
The Phoenix was born.
The Phoenix was born, and I must admit, I was quite happy to sort of pull back and let him get on with it. He brought Tony Pignata over from Australia to be the CEO and that. So, we stayed pretty close to the thing.